About 6-7 years ago, people started to come to me to ask for help with their own trading, and out of that, I kind of started to develop a way and a means to support traders in their own path, in their own journey. I like to think of there being sort of there's kind of three elements to it. There's the sort of education, there's mentoring, and then there's coaching. There's lots of different ways of defining those individual kind of elements. But when I talk to people, I'm trying to work out initially, where they are in terms of what they require in terms of support. So someone who requires education, well, invariably, that for the most part, that's people who are very, very new to trading, and they actually need to learn this kind of the basic fundamental and technical skills of trading. Okay, they need to learn how to place a trade, how to analyze a market, how to use a platform, etc. I do a little bit of work with that, but to be honest, these days with the internet, there is an immense amount of fantastic free resources out there that people can tap into, and so to be honest, most people are pointed in those kind of directions. Then there are people who need some mentoring, and then there are people who need some coaching. It's in terms of mentoring, the way I sort of define it is that I will give an individual some guidance, but they're under no pressure, no remit to actively follow it. It would be sensible for them to do it, but it's a case of that it's on their own head. So when I talk about guidance, it's certainly not talking about you need to buy here or you need to sell there. It's not like that. It's more about guiding about how you're approaching your day, how you're approaching your trading, how you're treating it as a business rather than a hobby, etc., and giving them just some guidance around that based upon my own experience and the experience of dealing with hundreds of other guys. So it's that's where I would term mentoring an individual. And then some people need coaching, and they actually need proper coaching skills. And normally the way I look at it in terms of for traders, it's about getting them out of their comfort zone. It's kind of expanding their abilities. So they may have been trading for a while and may be actually doing very well, but now they want to evolve to a next level in terms of either the way they trade around their lifestyle or in terms of their profitability, etc. And it's about sort of expanding their abilities and sort of driving them towards a kind of the next level in their trading journey. It's a little bit like life. Everybody knows that they should sleep more, they should drink less, they should eat more fruit and veg, they should take more physical exercise, they should do more to help with the community. Okay, everybody knows they should do these things, but they still don't. And a little bit of working with a kind of a trading mentor, a trading coach is a little bit like that in terms of everybody knows they should work with one, but they don't do it, okay, until something happens, until there's some compelling event that causes them to address the way they've been going about their business. When does my phone really ring? A few, let's say, recurring reasons of why people pick up the phone and actually get in touch with me and want my help. Invariably, for the most case, it's because of catastrophic financial loss. Okay, and that's one reason. Or two, that they're experiencing sort of intense emotional pain which they weren't expecting to. Very often, that is quite often linked to experience catastrophic financial loss. And the third one is just born out of frustration. They're in the last chance saloon. They've been taking that kind of death by 1,000 cuts. They don't really know what's going wrong, but they know they're not getting the results they want, and they're frustrated, and they want some objective support and help in sort of overcoming that obstacle. So it's a question about actually uncovering their kind of real reasons for picking up the phone and calling a coach like myself. In terms of someone who's experienced let's say a severe financial loss, invariably there's two ways or two reasons why they're calling me. Very often they've experienced this financial loss and they've called me up because they think I'm going to get their money back from the market. It's a kind of a revenge thing. They haven't accepted the fact that that money that was in their account is no longer in their account. Okay, that money has gone to the market. Okay. And so they're struggling to deal with it, and I probably see that as a kind of like a loss aversion bias. We don't like to be wrong, okay? We don't like losing money, and so trading gives people that experience, and they don't want to take that on board. And so very often people call me up and say, I want you to help me get this money back, okay? And invariably that's kind of an education process about that money is now gone. if you want to talk in business terms, that's like a sunk cost. That money is now gone, and throwing more money after bad, okay, without really understanding why you're doing this, what are you trying to achieve, okay, then you're on a hiding to nothing. And secondly, I am not going to get your money back. It doesn't work like that. So that's kind of like some of the people who call, and as I said, there's a bit of an education process required, okay, and it might well be nothing more than, listen, you were completely unprepared. You didn't manage risk in any way, shape or form, and the consequences are not surprising. How long does it take people to accept that they're not going to get their money back in the way they think they are? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Some people know it. In fact, I would say most people know it. Okay, most people know it. Some people will admit it to themselves. Okay, in terms of that they recognise that they've been a bit foolish, and that they've taken a kind of proverbial punch in the chin, and they have to face up to that. Although some people won't accept it. Some people won't accept it, and either they'll become kind of like bitter and angry and talk about how the markets are rigged, etc. They'll try and project blame onto other entities. Okay, so either my broker's rigged, or the markets are rigged, or it was my internet provider's fault because the internet dropped down. They'll look, instead of accepting the responsibility themselves, they'll look to kind of project the blame onto somebody else, and that doesn't really help, and so people like that, there's actually very little you can do to help them when they're in that kind of mental space. There are some people who recognise, okay, I was a bit foolish, I got a bit of a smack, okay, and now I realise that I have to take this seriously, okay. They want to be trading, they want to be engaged in financial markets, and they know that they were operating as an amateur with a hobby, as opposed to a professional with a business. And that's kind of very often that's the kind of work I do, is moving from a person with an amateur with a hobby to a professional with a business. We all have hobbies, and we expect to spend money on our hobbies, okay? But with a business, we expect to make money from a business, and trading's like that, in the sense that if you're an amateur with a hobby, you're going to spend money on it. If you're a professional with a business, then you're looking for it to make money. So, and it's about changing the kind of mindset and the approach the individual takes, okay, to moving them towards being a professional with a business. So that's the kind of when a person's experienced financial loss, then as I said, one of the other elements is they just experience intense emotional pain, in that they didn't recognise or realise the amount of emotional pain that is associated with that can be associated with trading financial markets, and most of that is linked to their own behaviour. Humans, especially men, we don't like to be wrong. Okay, and we don't like to lose money. So when a trade goes against the person and they're wrong and they're losing money, they feel it's sometimes like a visceral threat to their existence, and because they've had years of conditioning that I need to be right, and and I need to make money. So when that doesn't happen, which will always happen with trading, they invariably struggle to accept that. So sometimes that is they have the financial pain, or the emotional pain, and the way they react to it is by not managing risk. And what do I mean by that? In that particular case, it's a case of, this is where you see people removing stop losses from their trades, or just moving their stop loss further away and further away. That trade, it'll come back. I'll just give it some more room to breathe, okay? And the losses get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? And the more pain happens, and it's a bit of a death spiral. And so either they will just experience a level of emotional pain that is just so painful for them that they'll just get out of the market at any price, or invariably their account will just get destroyed, and they'll face a margin call from the broker. So people don't really understand that, or they underestimate the fact that not only do you have financial capital at risk when you take a trade in the market, but you also have emotional capital, and it's about being able to manage, knowing that and understanding and being able to manage that. Third category of person is that person who's just experiencing the kind of death by a thousand cuts. They're probably they're probably managing risk. They're doing things, most things properly, but they're not getting the results they're looking to achieve. Okay, and they're just there's a sense of frustration. They're doing all the good things. Okay, or they believe they're doing all the good things, but they're not getting the results, and they're angry about that, and they want to see if I can help them and provide them with a kind of objective insight into what they need to do to turn around their situation. Those people come to see me, and it's very often that they're looking for revolution. Okay, they want to come in and they just want to clear the decks, throw everything away. They're just they're frustrated, they're annoyed, they're angry, and actually very often it's more about evolution than revolution. So it's about, part of my job is to sit with these people and work out what are the good things they've been doing. What are the I like to take a kind of a strengths-based approach with them. What are the things they have been doing that are good, and then let's build on that. And what are the things they've been doing that either A are just in need of development, or at B they're wholly inappropriate for engaging with financial markets, and start to remove them from their behaviours and patterns. It's more about evolution than revolution in terms of being able to kind of what I talk about in sort of turning the super tanker and turn it away from the rocks and actually getting it going in the right direction.